Yeah, cool. I think we're live. Let me just make sure that our group it's at the top thing.
Awesome.
Should be ready to rock. Okay, mark as an announcement. I think. Cool. Robert Miller, we are live.
Let's go.
To have you on here, man. I've been wanting to have this interview with you for a while. I even wrote about it. It's as soon as we started talking in Mexico, I was like this guy is someone I definitely want to pick his brain about. So, bro, thank you for joining me, man. It means a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I know we've been trying to sync up, and so I'm just glad that it's finally happened here in sunny
Yeah,
Miami.
it's funny. People, a lot of people in our industry, like you and me, we travel a lot. So, like to sync up is really difficult. It's not just like being in the same city in the same neighborhood and just going to dinner. It's we're in different time zones. One day you're here, one day I'm there, and it's just crazy. It's a blessing. But dude, I always start this interview with like going back a few years because everybody changes every single year. We take like we've been leveling up. So I want to take it back, 3-4 years ago when you first really got started in this industry. I know we talked a little bit about it on the yacht, which was pretty cool. So take us back. How did you first get into this industry?
Yeah, so I first got started in the marketing industry about 5-6 years ago, because I first heard about cryptocurrency, and I grew up in a blue collar town, and when I was growing up, it was always a small-minded middle class. So it wasn't really inspiring to be an entrepreneur. I was around a lot of blue collar workers, which I love. They're great friends of mine and stuff. Just the mentality is different. And so I first got started into cryptocurrency, and I was the only person in the whole area that really knew how to trade, how to buy, sell, any of that stuff. So I wrote an ebook, and I was running ads on that, testing out, getting people to download it because it was a super hot topic. And then Facebook came through and just wiped out all cryptocurrency ads. And so I was like, all right, I stopped doing my tours to colleges and up and down the West Coast. I had to stop doing that mentally because I checked out. As soon as crypto crashed, I didn't know how to short the market or anything. And as soon as Facebook wiped it out, I was like, all right, I got to pivot. So I focused solely on marketing. And I knew some entrepreneur buddies of mine that had actually come through from me knowing cryptocurrency. And so I just started doing some marketing and some funnels for them. And over time was building a local lead gen business in my area while I was full-time in college. And then I actually had a big portfolio of results, local lead gen stuff. And at that time, Grant and Frank Kern opened up an agency, and they were scaling massively. So they were taking applications. Mm-hmm. So the reason I applied actually was because my transcripts from my college that I was at didn't transfer over to the next college I was going to. And so I didn't get accepted into any colleges. So out of like pure panic, fear, a lot of stuff, I was just really scared of where my future was going to be if I didn't take that leap of applying to that position. I've been following Grant for about 5-6 years. And so I figured, hey, it was worth a shot, take a leap of faith. And fast forward about a month, I got the position. So super grateful that I was able to do media buying from my laptop, was able to, run Facebook ads and do all of that. And for me, I always really struggled with in the beginning, and I'm sure a lot of digital entrepreneurs struggle with this, is what I know actually, valid? Is it actually going to make money? Like where am I in this ecosystem? Am I far behind? Am I ahead? Did I figure something out? And so when I got to that agency, I actually had budgets to work with, right? So within the first couple months of me working there, I scaled up accounts like crazy, had these insane case studies, and was promoted and just had a lot of results kind of come from the work that me and the team that I was working with at the time were responsible for. And that just like gave me a confidence booster. Like, hey, I know that this works. I cracked something inside of Facebook at this time. And so I worked with them, and I worked heavily directly with Frank Kern for about 6 months, going over strategy, picking his brain. We had gone back and forth on many accounts. And then from that point forward, about 6 months after that whole journey with their agency, I left, started my own, and then came across you guys' program, and you guys really helped me scale up. So that's the whole progression.
Yeah. And we're gonna dive into like each one of those things. But when you were in like middle school and high school, were you always entrepreneurial? Were you always like trying to sell things on the side? Did you ever have a job during any of those periods?
Yeah. So I first read Rich Dad Poor Dad in 2nd grade because my brother, he was getting into entrepreneurship, and he told me to read this. I wasn't reading any of the other books and stuff. Wow. And so that one, super simple book, awesome book, but that kind of like set my my path, like a skew on like traditional education. And so I was trying to sell things. I got caught in the principal's office, shutting down my Pokemon card or my Yu-Gi-Oh card operation and things like that. But in all seriousness, around that time of getting into college, that's where I was really hungry and looking for different opportunities. So cryptocurrency was one that I just went down the rabbit hole and found out a lot about. Same thing with the marketing and e-commerce and other facets then. So I've always been an entrepreneur, but it really started as soon as I was 18.
So then you got into crypto, and obviously it was the boom is still here. I think crypto is still it's owned by less than 1% of the world, so it's really nothing still. It's crazy. Obviously with Facebook regulations, did you feel like when you were entering the Frank Kern world, like you were better more for the systems back end, like media buying, or did you know that from the start? Because I know obviously you can sell, but you would say that you're more talented as a marketer, right? So did you know that from the get-go, or at what point did you figure that out?
Well, I was a broke marketer for a long time because I knew all the systems. I knew all the back end. I knew funnels. I knew how to do all that, but I couldn't sell. Like I was terrified. I would door knock. I remember my first year in revenue, which was there's a couple months in the year left, but I only got $500 because I was just so terrified, like to even knock on doors or to go do that stuff. I even was following Grant. He said to go do a solar gig, go do door-to-door sales to try and break out of your shell. So I did a solar gig. I had like 3 or 4 different jobs of me trying to become better with talking with people. And what really made the change for me from my introverted personality type to become a little bit more extroverted and understand like, hey, now I have the confidence of the media buying skill set. Now, how do I translate that into my social presence? How do I translate that into communicating with people? Was when I had my partner, Tyler. Him and I had partnership after the Frank Kern, after I left that agency to create our own. And he's all people. He loves people. He can train people. He can coach people. He's all that. And I was so systems heavy, finance, like super oriented. That's what my major was as well, finance. Yeah. So like when we came together, we rubbed off on each other. I learned a lot just on how to better communicate. And then he learned a lot from me on the back end so we can really create a nice pairing.
So going from crypto and like Facebook ad to like agency, was it like, how did you even get in touch with Frank Kern? And for those who don't know who Frank Kern is, how would you explain who Frank Kern is and all that good stuff?
I think he's known as being like the 4th richest internet marketer ever. He learned from some of the greats in copy. Like he makes ads so simple and marketing so simple, and he's just really great on camera. So whenever you see an ad of his or a course, you honestly just feel a transparency that you can trust. He's not flashing Lambos. He's not doing all that kind of stuff. He's just a great, enjoyable guy to one, learn from, but that characteristic and that personality translates in his ads. So he has an attractive character, and he's just been around since like the 1990s. And has seen Russell Brunson blow up and has just been one of the godfathers of the industry.
Cool. So guys, if you're watching this live, I see this, we have over 20 people watching this live, hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, and if you're getting some value, hashtag Miller for Robert, Miller. So going for crypto, like, so Frank Kern, obviously, a lot of us have heard about him. Some haven't. Some people are going to look him up after. I mean, he's obviously super legit. I think Joel actually had a conversation with him yesterday, which is super random. He just showed up to a team like, yeah, I just spoke with Frank Kern. I'm like, that's cool. How did you get that gig? How did you go from crypto to working with Frank?
So I've been studying Grant Cardone for 5 to 6 years. And so I'm always on top of like what their most recent offer is. And so when I saw that they had partnered, him and Frank at the time, I followed Frank right away. I didn't know who Frank was. Even though I was using some of his tactics and stuff that I had learned from other courses, I didn't know who he was. And I followed him, and one of the recent posts after I followed him was, hey, if you want to apply and you want to work for me, just send me an email with your information. So that's all I did. I saw a social media post. It was convenient. It was perfect. A couple hours after he posted, submitted the application, and was hired within a few weeks of submitting that.
What would you say your biggest strengths were when you got there, and what did you learn the most through your experience? Because you worked there for a year, right? Was it about a year?
I worked there for about 6 to 7 months. Yeah.
So less, a little than a year. Okay.
Yeah. So my biggest strength at that time was being able to be very analytical and understand the metrics and the data, and then being able to tie that back with copy. I was really good with both. And really the side that made it easy for me to thrive at that agency was that they had people that were doing creative, they had copywriters. And so I was able to really focus solely on media buying to test out a bunch of different strategies. And it really ended up resulting in some crazy case studies, like spending $7,000 and generating 157 for an e-commerce brand,
Wow.
Did a lot of lead gen for entrepreneurs and helped them generate millions. And so it was really, really cool to like see different industries. And because of what I was doing there, within 2 months, I got promoted to oversee strategy for a bunch of companies. So any company that would come through, me and this other individual, we were like the main bottlenecks, like you could even say, of really figuring out strategy. So one, the learning curve just went from, you know, a traditional, you know, I'm getting better to just, you know, hockey stick of understanding business and not just being solely focused in ads. And so that was really the biggest thing that I learned, was how to apply the same media buying principles to a bunch of different verticals, and then be able for me to understand the business models of each vertical and then choose which one I want.
That's awesome, dude. So you worked there 6-7 months. You meet Tyler, who, if you guys don't know, Tyler is like one of the hidden secrets in the space. And we're just gonna, as you guys blow up, dude, he's gonna be like that person that he's gonna take over Grant Cardone. He's one of the coolest people I've ever met. And you guys meet up, and it's cool because you guys are like, in a sense, very different when it comes to your skill sets, right? One's people person, one's more the technical back end. Did you guys, when you guys first met, and I talked to another partnerships last week, I've been doing a lot of partnerships. How did you guys first make that happen? Like, what was the transition? It wasn't like you guys left Kern and then immediately started an agency, I'm assuming, right? It was probably work in progress.
Yeah.
And how did you know he was the one that would help you out?
So again, another big leap of faith. I was trying to do the freelancing gig by myself for some time. I could only get to like 5 or 6 clients because, as you know, you have front end, you have back end, and you have to communicate what the heck's going on and explain them and teach them. So it was a really extensive process, and it was weird because I had come from so much scale to then really starting out again, right? And so having strategies that work up here, but how do I get to that point, was the biggest gap, and I needed help personally. Now, I had a partnership before when I was doing the freelance thing. It didn't work out. It actually went really, really south. And so then when I went to the agency, then I came back, I was hesitant to partner with anyone just because of the dynamics. I didn't want to have the same thing happen, didn't want to get burned again, didn't want to lose money. And it's funny, Tyler is actually from the same hometown that I was. So I had known of him prior, like a couple years prior. He went off and built this incredible company down in Colombia, was abroad for a couple years, but then he literally came back like the month that I had left Cardone's.
Yeah.
And so then he just slid into my DMs, was like, "Hey, would love to chat. I see you do this ad stuff. Let's chat. I think we can potentially do some business." I came in, and it was honestly, I was so like shrewd. I did not like want to give him the time of day. I was like so closed off, reserved. I'm like, what does this guy want, right? And after we started talking, like we just kind of started clicking, and more than just being business, it was like a really good friendship really developed because he understood me and I understood him. We had some, you know, some common background, same city, same mindsets. You know, we understood each other, and we wanted to do something entrepreneurial. And so for me, it was an ego check and a gut check to say, hey, what is that next level? Because obviously it's not working for you right now. What if this worked out great? Don't think about the negatives. What if it worked out great? What if it worked out better than you thought? And really be optimistic about it. Worst case is it doesn't work out, and it wouldn't maybe have worked out if you being on your own. You need help. You obviously need help. Yeah. So that was the light bulb switch. We signed a paper napkin with a split of the company that wasn't even formed. It was just my single member LLC. Yeah. And it was also kudos to him too, to be able to work with someone like me, but really his wife, Natalie, who's a rock star, big shout out to her. Amazing, yeah. She stepped into the role as well. So not only did Tyler initiate that, I was able to connect and jive with her as well, and in a friendship, but also in a working dynamic. Because again, I had come from having a team to be able to do this stuff. She was able to really front load a lot of that, and we would be nowhere near where we are today without someone to really help me integrate a lot of the stuff and build the foundations to the agency. So without him and her, I wouldn't be here at all.
Yeah, they're incredible. Meeting both of them was just like, man, you're in good hands. When you see partnerships work out, and we'll talk about your next partnership here in a minute. But so let me ask you this popped up when you were talking. You went from Kern to going freelancing. How come you didn't want to go get like another corporate job or like go work with Kern at another place? Like, did you want to, once you left them, did you feel like, man, what this experience, I never want to work in corporate world and put my future in someone else's hands? Like, what was the breaking point for you where you're like, I got to work for myself. I have to figure this shit out?
The breaking point for me, so I was full-time in college doing all of this, right? So when I applied, I was at a JC, a junior college, and then I'd gone to a full-time university. I'd done some appeals and stuff, got to actually get into the university. But I had taken that job with them thinking and knowing that I was going to be a remote media buyer. I can work on my own schedule. That gig was cool. But once I performed really, really well, I got promoted, and then there was just so much demand for being on calls. I was literally doing 4 a.m. to midnight every single day, nonstop, with school, with finals, like with everything. And I honestly have now dropped out of school because the business took off. Like, I wasn't holding on to school because I knew that was going to be the route that I wanted to, go down and have a corporate job. I always wanted to work for myself. But that was the tipping point of, okay, you have the skill set, you've learned a lot. Now you just have to have the confidence in yourself to really transcend and understand that it's going to take some build up, but you need people to help. I was thinking, like, why did Grant and Frank come together? Why does Frank have a group and a team that they've partnered up on the other projects? Like, you need someone to help balance you out, and really it's a gut and ego check if you don't think so.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'd say this almost every week. If I was to start today in brand new agency, whether it's marketing, whatever, I want partners. I want people that can do some of the things that I'm not as good at. Like, I'm sure you can learn the people skills and sales, but why wouldn't you just give a piece of the company to someone that is amazing at it, that's just as motivated and hungry to help you balance it out, just like you said. So then you guys left Kern, you were freelancing, partnered up with Tyler. Did you guys from the get-go go after ecom, or was it like a bunch of niche shopping to get there?
Yeah, so we had an exploration phase. So again, the skill sets that I learned were in multiple verticals. So we had to figure out which one we want to work in. We didn't want to work in blue collar. I'm really in love with being a digital entrepreneur and focusing on like digital businesses. So info products, lead gen for high ticket sales, and e-commerce. Those are like my passions. And so I kind of directed that because that's what I was best at. So if I can fulfill on it and we can go to networking events and we can talk with people that are in that space, then we'll make it happen. And so from a revenue standpoint, I had one client after I left Grant Cardone's office, literally just to keep me afloat for I kind of coasted for 2 months. So with Tyler, with myself, we had one client. We're doing about like $3,000 a month or something like that. Once we partnered up, we went to 10X GrowthCon, and I knew a lot of people because I worked in Miami, or I worked remotely, so I know all the Miami people. I just networked and just in the right rooms, and Tyler really helped me network and just facilitated a lot of those conversations to edify me enough to then be able to deliver what I'm really good at delivering. And it just worked with that 1-2 punch in that combo. And we literally went from basically $0 or $3,000 a month to just under $500,000 within like 8 months of us just working together hand in hand with entrepreneur brands, e-commerce brands. And we just had crazy case studies from the verticals that we chose. And so then we just stuck with that about 2 months or 3 months in after we had really got some momentum.
So how did you guys get your first few clients? Because, with 8 months, getting to 40K a month it's impressive. What was the first few months of working together like, and how did you guys acquire the first few clients?
So we went and networked people. It wasn't ads. We didn't have money for ads. Like, I do ads, but I didn't have money, right? Or at least there's too much fear to test out. Hey, with $500, would this funnel convert a $3,000 a month customer? Probably not. Right? There's a whole sales process involved, et cetera. I had seen that. So we went and did networking. Tyler has a great network. And so kind of went in there and taprooted through him a bit. And then we had just continuously scaled. So like after we got our first grip of just networking and going through people, understanding that, then we just got more referrals. I had another person that I had met through one of the clients that now is like a lifelong brother of mine. And he's awesome. His name is Ali, and he does a lot of personal branding. So he helped me translate my skill set into social. And then now once my social profile had that, when I networked, it was just bang, 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 bang. I was sharing with what I knew. People were able to see that constantly. I was providing value. I was doing these videos called Added Up, showcasing like, hey, here's free value, value, value. And so both of that stuff just came together with the right partnership, and we just started gaining momentum. And so our biggest month, I believe, was like 79,000 in that agency. And then we had a breaking point, which we can talk about if we want, about a company name.
I do want to get to that, but before we do, like, so you guys essentially got to 40 or 79K 100% organically through networking and referrals, right?
So we had a lot of referrals. I would say about 20% of our clients, so 30% of our clients came from ads, and the rest were just networking. And the network that we were in just had a bunch of entrepreneurial type people, and so it was just taprooting that.
So I want to get to the breaking point, but one more question before that. If you were starting your business today, knowing everything that you know now, and you don't have money right now, Robert, we get it. Like you can drive Lamborghinis, but if you were to restart and you had like no money in your bank account, not much support, how would you get your first few clients?
The way I would get my first few clients is, I mean, what I did was I joined a network marketing company and networked with entrepreneurs. You're able to see who's really about it, but also a lot of those people have a side business or have a main business and this is their side income, and see how you can provide value there. It's a cheap barrier to entry. Go to free networking events if you can, but find a good group of people in an MLM, go to a few meetings, network, and that's personally what I did. Is a cheap barrier to entry. You're in a community of people learning entrepreneurship, and if you can provide value and then tap into their entrepreneurial friends, it really helped me, and that's how I got to where I'm at.
I've done probably about 30 of these interviews, Robert, maybe less, maybe more. You're the first person to ever bring up MLM, and it's just quick synopsis. The reason I'm here is because of MLM. I met Marcos at an MLM company 8 years ago, 2013, 2014, something like that. And we were in Vima. Have you heard of Vima before?
Yeah. So Tyler was in Vima in the early days, and then I had met him through a different MLM. That's how we got connected.
So Vima was like the young people, revolution, whatever. So that's funny. You're the first person to ever mention that, because I tell people like join MLM to network, not because that's what you want to make money off of. It's very hard to make money with MLM. I'm sure you know that as well, like Amway. I'm sure it's possible. But the networking and even learning how to build a business is you said it best. It's the cheapest way to create a network. It's the cheapest way, because even if you're not, you have no skill set, you're buying yourself into a networking. It's almost like a frat, but you can't join when you're 37 years old, right? So I think with MLM, you're able to get in for $200, $300, $400, $500. Sometimes it's $100 a month to stay in, and you're in. Like once you're in, you're in. As long as you're not a weirdo, they'll let you stay. So yeah, that's so interesting. So you guys hit 40, 50, 60. Tell me a little bit about the breaking point, because it sounds like you guys took from the outside. Is it more you guys took in more than you can handle, or what was it like? What was that like?
So it was a little bit of both, but I would say when we ramped up, we had a nice little letter sent to us from another company with the same name and said, hey, you can't use the name anymore. I was like, dang, it's a good name, man. So I was like, all right, we have to pivot. We have to adjust. So we have to stop acquisitions, and we have to focus on building out new systems, new process, new branding, which I had met through another client, a branding master. So he helped me out a lot. I couldn't do it all myself. Like that's the thing. Like once you get to a certain point, you have to focus on your highest level of contribution.
Yes.
The highest level of contribution is not maybe even writing an email copy. Even though I love doing copy and I can always hop in there and write something, it's probably not the highest contribution to what the business needs. That's just kind of like stroking my marketing brain, my ego or whatever, because I wanted to do it. And so once we had to make the pivot, we had another company name. And that's what we actually took to Mexico. But then when we got back, even though we had it approved, everything by our IP lawyers, we got cracked again by the IP lawyer saying, hey, you can't use this name, so you're going to have to adjust again. And so I had just built out all new guts of the business, all the systems, integrations. If you guys are in Agency Lab, there's a whole process and whole course basically on systems of really building all that. So I did that twice. And now I had to do it a third time. And at that point, that's when we had met Kendall, and we had a really great conversation there.
Yes, and I want to get to that in a minute. So not once, but twice, you guys had to change your name. And for people that don't know, when you have like 2-3 clients, changing your name is not a big deal. When you have like 20, 30 clients, you're doing $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a month. You have a team. Changing your name is not just changing your name. You're changing your email, your logo, your website. You're rebranding everything. This could take, dude. Going from, because there's another 7-figure agency out there. I don't know if you know that, but going from 7-figure agency to Agency Lab, I think we literally finished that transition. Like it took us 4 or 5 months to finish that transition, because you're onboarding people and someone just kind of onboarded everything to 7FA, and then you have to re-onboard them to a different new name. So people are like, bro, you just have to change your name. Let me tell you something, and Robert can tell you the same thing. It is the biggest pain in the ass that he will probably have to go through before like scaling to 8 figures.
Yeah, it's so much systems, integrations, and then access. Oh my gosh, man, it's a whole other beast. But I learned a lot through the process too, and I needed that. Looking back, you can always connect the dots to then do what I'm doing now.
You know what I also love about that is it tells me that the name that you guys got was like a probably you don't have to tell us the name, but it was a good name. But it tells me that that wasn't really a focus. You guys didn't put too much focus in like too much research because you focus more on the product and you focus more on your how to get set appointments and close appointments, right? Because if you sat there and you're thinking about the logo and the name, and you're not focusing on what's going to bring money to the business.
So we did have an idea that sparked because of some work that I had previously done. So we had created a method called the scale method, and we were kind of just figuring out. We're like, okay, cool. What does scale actually mean? Because everyone talks about scaling. What's actually needed to scale? We're all trying to scale our agencies to 7 figures, 8 figures, but what does it really take? Not only from like a systems perspective, but from like an advertising perspective and a personal development perspective. Like, what does it actually take? And so we just created a little acronym. It was something that we just did randomly in the month that we had to transition. It was just a copy idea that me, Natalie, and Tyler came up with. And then flash forward to now our name is ScaleBold. And I was like, okay, perfect. ScaleBold. We have the scale method. Now it fits. So if you have great ideas, shelve them, keep them, because you never know when you're going to need them again. Just put them in a vault because you can always sync it up with another offer or do a company that you have or something like that because you never know when it comes in handy.
Yeah. So you went through that transition. So this was like later last year, so around late 2020. So throughout 2020, obviously the COVID hit. You had a huge transition. I mean, from January 2020 to where you guys are at now, it's pretty crazy to think about, right? Just in a year and a half with the amount of changes that have happened. So then 2020, obviously COVID and a bunch of stuff happened, and partnering up with Tyler, you started growing. You hit the $500,000 mark, changing your name, and then I want to talk about a little bit before Mexico and Kendall. But like, at what point did 7FA come in? And even before 7FA, have you and Tyler invested in other coaching programs and courses, or did you just take everything you learned from Frank Corn and other places and just implemented it?
Yeah, so the journey of education has been just as important as the whole agency journey, right? When I first did really well with cryptocurrency, I actually had like a mini hedge fund, made some money, and towards when everything was crashing, I had like 50 grand that I cashed out. All of it went into courses and education. I didn't keep a dime. It went into marketing, went into e-commerce, went into Amazon, went into private label, went into trading, went into technical analysis. It went into all of that because I knew that at some point I'm going to use this. Now, how is it all going to fit? Now, I probably went overkill because I literally bought it all at once, but I had the time to be able to do it. And when I found one that I liked, I was like, okay, this is a cool angle. Then I really went deep into that. So courses and education at this point, I've spent over multiple 6 figures in education, programs, courses. And without those, I wouldn't be where I'm at, number one. But two, I invest in a lot of networks. So sometimes I just go to an event, not because of the material, but who's going to be at that event that I need to connect with, or who am I looking for either in my organization or in an area that I want to expand to, that I can find a partner to be able to connect with. And so 7FA for me came actually towards our biggest month. When we hit our peak month, we had closed, so we were closing like our normal retainers and stuff, but then I got into high ticket sales because I didn't want to do any retainers. So I was selling like 10 grand packages, 25 grand packs, like 35 grand packs, and we had closed a couple of those. So it was our biggest month. And then I was like, you know what, though? We need to have a better acquisition system and then better management of the process. Because I was kind of going off of what I had seen at the agency, but there was a lot of changes there. And so I didn't know if it was new. I didn't know what systems were best. And so that's where 7FA came for us. And then we started cracking ads, and that's where we kind of were able to dial in our acquisition strategies.
So did you see us on an ad where you referred to us? How did this connection happen?
Man, I saw Joel on like 50 YouTube ads retargeting me because I had gone through the whole funnel and it was like, agency owners, stop what you're doing. And a buddy of mine was in 7FA. He missed out on referring me over, but he wore the shirt, and so I saw that. And then just constantly saw Joel. Never knew what the offer was until I booked a call and literally signed up the same day or the next day or something like that. Probably the easiest close you guys have.
Yeah, I bet. I would say like the person that has the most attention on him normally wins, right? If your salesperson has the most attention on him, he has the most sales calls, right? If marketing, if you guys have, so we pay for attention. That's what helped us scale. So that's interesting. So you hit your biggest month, and for you, like, was the selling point, because you guys we're called a sophisticated buyer, right? So how I would speak with you if I was the one closing you would be way different for someone that is just starting out the agency, right? What was the selling point for you? Like, hey, I need to learn how to crack paid ads and the client acquisition. Was it the systems? Like, or what was the, man, this is what we don't have. Me and Tyler don't have this.
Yeah, two things. One, dialing agency ad acquisition. For some reason, I just couldn't crack it. Like I didn't understand how I wasn't able to crack it. So dropped the ego and went and was like, hey, I need to learn this. What do they got? Right. Second thing was I wanted to go in and learn what I don't know that I don't know, which was evidently systems.
System, backend, yeah.
All backend integration. And because I've always seen it from an agency perspective as a normal rep. You don't see how everything's orchestrated. And so I had to become an orchestrator, I guess.
Did you get more value from the course and just watching? Were you on the group calls? Like where did you spend most time on when it came to our program?
So the course was very, very helpful for the things that we needed. But when the live calls happened for copy, agency ad support, that tied in with them being able to reference the course video. So I would take the golden nuggets from the call, write them down, and then I would go back to a video in the course that said, do X, Y, and Z, and then see where this fits into what they had talked about. Because sometimes when you hear or watch a video or hear a message, you're in your current state and you only hear what you're aware of that you should be hearing.
Exactly.
But then when your awareness changes of what you need to do, you go back to the book or you go back to the video, you go back to the program, and the information will hit differently. And it'll sink in differently and you'll gain better understanding. And so for me, I did that back and forth. Call, course, call, course, call, course.
Yeah. How much time, I always get asked, and especially for you, like how much time were you spending on the program? Because obviously you have a business and you have talent, and you guys have, you guys are doing well. It wasn't like you guys came in and you were like, being screwed and, you lost half your business, or you were just starting out. You guys were doing pretty well. We came at a perfect time in your life, which is perfect, which is why, obviously you guys got scaling. But how much time were you actually spending with 7FA with the course and the calls? Were you on there pretty consistently?
I like to figure a lot of things out myself that could be to the detriment of me. So we divided and conquered things. So Tyler took on a lot of sales process, overarching things, and I was like into the media buying. Okay, like if I know my skill sets, how does this line up? And that was the area that I focused on. Once we dialed that in and I had a better understanding, then it was like, I need to figure out systems. I don't want to leave that to, even though my partner's great, I want to learn that. I want to know it myself because I'm going to be able to take that to another venture or whatever down the road. And so I went from course to course and vertical of the business to vertical of the business. And I spent at least about 10 hours in each one of those verticals. Systems, I would say it probably took me 30 hours, not going to lie, because I would play the video and I'd be building out the systems and I would learn from it. Like I would be building out, okay, how does this integrate? Where's the flow chart? How does this all work? How would this person do this? How would this get, like, you have to think for the whole team and the agency of how it's going to run without you so you can exit. And once someone understands the process, then someone can actually take over. So systems is an ongoing thing. For me, it doesn't stop.
Never.
So that's where
systems upgrade, people come and go, right? Systems upgrade, people come and go. You might hire someone today, they're amazing, and the next month they're like gone. Next year they're gone. Right? But the systems have to upgrade. If your systems are gone, you're screwed. And got it. That's interesting. So that was about, I believe you guys joined, was it the fall? It was around fall, winter, right?
It was September. Yeah, September.
So fall, right? So around fall. And then what was the biggest month you guys had up until Mexico, which was January, from September to Mexico?
So we didn't have any acquisitions from that point really until then, unless it was referral based, because I had to put in so much into the first company name. Then when we got cracked on that, I was like, okay, I got to rebuild everything for the second company name. Now we got to have all the design and the assets and the collateral built to support what we're doing. And then as we started ramping up, we literally about a week before Mexico, we were in Utah and we did a launch party saying, hey, new name, new brand. It took us, 3 months. We're here. We're ready to go. Next week, we go to Mexico. We had some great conversations, came back and had to redo the whole process all over again. But everything that I can look back, it's divine. Like God has been working. All glory goes to God, number one. But God's literally been placing the right things at the right time based on where I'm at in my journey to be able to get me to the next level.
That's amazing, man. So come Mexico, first off, what an event, right? How fun was that?
It was one of the best events I've ever been to, number one. Number two, because COVID had happened, everyone just wanted to talk to each other. We wanted human connection. So not only was the information great and the value was given, we really developed a lot of deep connections. And I think the community really came together more because we had only been digital, and in digital entrepreneurship, sometimes you can kind of feel siloed. And so really coming together, it was beautiful.
It was awesome, man. Because I remember even like at one point, Joel's like, "Man, we're presenting too much. Let's go outside and network." And I remember I thought the best day of the entire event was Saturday night, the day before the yacht. That was the networking. I mean, we were all outside and everybody was talking. You know, we were just going around talking, drinking. It was a really good time. And then somewhere around that time is your conversation with Kendall happened, who I actually interviewed here probably 1 or 2 months ago, back when I was in Colombia. And obviously, he's an ecom killer. You guys have an ecom agency that's thriving. How did this come about? Because I never would have imagined this coming, because you guys are doing both so well. Normally, you and Tyler started at 0. So like partnering up wasn't like you're giving up too much, he's giving up too much. But then Kendall's doing really well. You guys are doing really well. So how did that happen? That's very rare. You are putting your ego to the side. This is like, hey, ego, and you fucking just toss it out.
Yeah, totally. And really what that came down to, we were looking for someone to partner with in Mexico. That was our intention. So every single time I go to an event, I'm in Miami right now. I was just at a couple events. I always write down and set my intentions, because again, your awareness for what for what you're bringing to yourself will start to unravel with what you see. And so the more awareness that you get, that's why you invest in the programs. The more awareness you get, you're able to look at things differently. And so I set my intention to look at the event a little bit differently than just learning what's on the PowerPoint. Even though it was great information, I set my intention prior, because there's a really grand vision that we have now as a unit, that, you know, we know that the agency game is great, and we can really do something different that no other agency has done before with the e-commerce space. And so given that Kendall, myself, and there's a couple other e-commerce guys, I think we were kind of like the first ones that were really in the group for e-com. We were really debating on like, okay, we can continue to go down the agency route, and we can continue to get a bunch of clients and continue to do that. You have a lot of great copywriters and media buyers. I have talent literally that have come from Cardone's place, just different agency, and great media buyers as well. And it was a puzzle piece fit, because they had things that we didn't have and we were going to expand into anyways. And we had things that they didn't have that they needed to do pretty quickly, or else, you know, things would not do too well. And so part of that was the name and systems. I had literally just dedicated the past 4 months of my life to names and systems. So that's a big check mark, right? But also the different pieces and the dynamics. As soon as we came together, it was a puzzle piece fit. And so now we're optimizing a lot and then going to the next level, because we are developing some great technology. We have some really unique offers, and we can only do this as a unit, and because you can't do it on your own. There's skill sets that I have, there's skill sets that Kendall, Tate, Anthony, and all of their team members have, and that Tyler has, when meshed together, create a bigger vision. And now instead of just hitting 7-figure agency, we're going on to 8 figures, and now we're attracting better clientele because of all the experience on our board. Now being able to transcend to the next level, be able to hit 8 figures. And a lot of the clients we're getting now are at that level, signing annual contracts because of the trust that they have in our whole entire suite of people.
That's amazing, because we always talk about 7-figure agency, and here comes an 8-figure agency, right? I thought one of the coolest things that you know, we're talking about our goals on the yacht, big flex, 40 million yacht. But you were like, man, I want to collect $6 million, and I was just like, that's big time, right? Because I'm not used to listening. I'm not used to hearing that. On that yacht, you hear that a lot. On that yacht, we were probably like the brokest people, right? But
right.
Normally in the agency space, like $6 million in cash collected, that's really insane. So actually, I want to step back, because most of the people I'm listening to are, you know, really getting started at 5, 10, 15K. So like, what's your biggest tip, and what would you say your biggest hurdle was when you guys first got your first 2 clients from the networking? It was just you and Tyler. You guys wanted to get from like 5K to 10K to 20K. Was it just continuing doing the same thing over and over again? Was it changing the offer? Like, what was the thing that that you guys continuously had to work on?
We didn't really have an offer. We were, hey, we'll run your Facebook ads. Okay, for $1,500 bucks. Okay, now that we've gotten like 3 clients at that, let's try $2,000. Let's try $2,500. Let's try that. Now we got to do onboarding. I didn't want to do every single process, but that was needed. There's a lot of time, resources that probably weren't optimized properly. But in the beginning, you have to grind. You have to like hustle and figure out what that offer is. And then once you can actually pay for distribution and then be clear on what the offer is going to be that you want to scale out, that's when you can really ramp up paid ads, funnels, and go from there. right? But if you don't have any money, like I didn't have any money, I spent my money on networking and going to places to pitch the value that I have, and you can feel that in person. I didn't know how to communicate it properly, which is one of the things I learned from Tyler. But that's what really got us clients in the beginning because of the experience, the stamp of approval that I got from working at the agency, and really just the credentials that gave. So I would just network with people. If you're in a blue collar area or something that doesn't support entrepreneurship, then I would try and move or go network, go to Miami for a week and try and find the events that are all in alignment with what your niche is, because there's things happening everywhere. And so when your awareness changes, like you're able to actually start attracting what you want because you're aware of what's happening.
Huge. I think that's huge because you guys were networking, network marketing, but some people don't have that. You're in Iowa, you're in Idaho, you're in Wyoming, you're in these states. Man, there's groups of people and the contracting group, and I think that's huge.
Yeah.
If I was to start again, not only would I partner up, but the first few clients, I would actually meet in person. I would take their hand, right, and figure out a partnership and figure out how do I get to really dive into this world. So what you and Tyler did with eCommerce, a lot of other people doing it in the niche. That's very interesting, man. So now that you guys you're working with Kendall and you're seeing things from such a higher level point of view, what do you feel like it's been for you if you were to start an agency really all over again? What do you feel like you have to do in order to succeed? Because it's very different than it was in 2019 when you first started 2020. If you really had to restart today, how do you see it from the point of view that you're at right now? You're CEO, you've all these partnerships, you're going to collect $6 million, money's good, but what would you do differently? How? And I know I've kind of asked this, but I want the people to hear this again because you've seen it all at this point. You've seen a lot, let's just say. So what do you feel like if you were to restart today, you were starting from scratch zero, and you joined the network marketing and you got your first couple clients? Do you think that speaking to one niche, doing a bunch of different services, what would you be doing?
Yeah. So first, you got to get the mindset right. Like the money is out there. The people are out there, the connections are out there. You either believe it or you don't, right? And I didn't believe it for the longest time because that wasn't my environment. And even when I went to environments that maybe had, more affluent areas that had cash, I still was kind of broke mentally. And so you don't never want to check yourself out from in the beginning. You don't want to check yourself out. You're just getting started. So definitely invest into books. I read a lot of books. So I would recommend Beyond Positive Thinking, Think and Grow Rich, 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, and really set the foundation. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Those are really powerful books to shift your mindset. Because once that unlocks, then you understand the principles in those books. And then when you go to those networking events, you'll see things different. And so go to the networking events, have the right mindset, but don't just go for the transaction. Go for the value, because I can't say that if you go to this networking event, you're going to close 3 deals. But you could meet 3 people that lead you to another guy that leads you to his aunt that's in Iowa that you actually know that is local, and you can go meet that person and close a deal. So it's more relational, and you got to think about how you're representing yourself. What do you want to be known for? If you don't have an offer, you don't have anything yet, you're just getting started, how do you want to be remembered?
Huge.
This kid was sharp. This kid was smart.
Yes.
Good.
So give us your top 3 books. Top 3 books that for people that are not readers, or some of the, don't give you away like your next level books, because I think you have to get to that level, but 3 books that you feel like, man, this is absolutely necessary for anybody to point.
Yeah, for sure. One of the main ones I would recommend is Think and Grow Rich. That's a foundational book that everyone must read. On top of that, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. That one's particularly if you're in a rut, if you're not in a good spot mentally, you're having a lot of negative self-talk, or you're just not in the right spot, you're trying to get a breakthrough, read that book. It's like 40 pages. It's a little booklet. It'll change your perspective. And then I would go to the 10X rule. Once you get the mindset right, go to 10X rule, because then you're really going to understand that you have to really double down on your goals and 10X your goals to really make the activity and the financial freedom that you want happen.
Yeah, I love that, man. Do you think that someone that's starting out, do you think it's a better route for them to do what you did with Frank Kern and go work at I don't want to say super corporate, but go learn? Or do you think it's better to just read the books and just go out there and start a business? What do you think is the best route for a young entrepreneur that's really just getting in the game?
Man, I would shortcut and go work for an agency. You're going to learn so much more about communication, and and do that route. Now, that's not to say that you can't you can't work and do it yourself. I was doing it myself, but then when I worked for the agency, it validated what I knew, because I was dealing with an internal conflict of what if I knew what I knew was accurate or correct or not, and I haven't really tested with a lot of big budgets, so I'll have a safety net if I work with them. I'll learn a lot, and I outweighed for my situation the costs and the the benefits. There's way more benefits for me than costs, because I was still living at home. I was in college. I might as well work for something to make sure that it's valid, and then that'll give me the confidence to go to the next level. You can figure it out on your own. Like that, no-brainer is the way to go if you have the right guidance. See, I didn't know about seven-figure agency before I started working for Frank Kern. I was doing this all myself through books, YouTube videos, where I'm buying all these other courses that didn't really structure me and give me a roadmap. They were just giving me information. So if you can follow a roadmap like an Agency Lab, has, that's one great option. But you also got to know yourself. If you're not confident, you can't believe in yourself, then no matter how much money that it costs or doesn't cost, you're not going to do it. And so if you take the leap of faith, you believe in yourself, and you go through a program where they're hand-holding you, it's a no-brainer. That's what we did. We had to do it at a different point. I wish I had done it earlier, but just is what it is. It's all perfect timing.
And I really appreciate you mentioning, seven-figure agency lab. It's huge, because I know, there's a lot of fluff out there. So for you, like, what was the biggest difference to investing with us and other programs? Is it because there was no blueprint and you needed client acquisition, or what else? What else do you feel like makes us different than other programs, courses, coaches, whatever it is?
I would say initially it was obviously cracking paid ads, understanding that whole side, but really the coaching, the availability for certain coaching. Whenever it was needed, the call was always going to be on the Wednesday for systems. I know I can rely on that person to fix my problem or just give me guidance with what was going on. Because they're not going to diagnose and go like into your account, but they'll give you the right mindset on how to think about it, and also give you a tactical solution on this is how you need to implement X, Y, Z. And then you can start doing that on your own across other parts of your systems or other parts of your ads. So really the coaching for me, the support that was given along the way, because I'm not just going to buy a course and hopefully that works. I want the support. And so that was the kicker for me. That was like a no-brainer. Let's do it. There was a guarantee at the time as well. And so like, there's no way I'm going to lose. There's no way. Let's just take the leap of faith.
Yes, I love that. Cool, man. So listen, we have about a couple minutes left. I don't want to take too much more of your time. I do really appreciate this. I did promise people a one-on-one with our copywriter. So I said, hey, whoever tunes in is going to get a one-on-one with a copywriter. And what I did last time actually worked great. Is Robert, if you could just message me a number between 1 to 100, whatever number you at the top of your head, 1 to 100. If you're watching the slide, there's over 25 of you that are watching the slide, and you comment, you have one chance. If you comment multiple times, you're immediately eliminated. So the person that gets closest or gets Robert's number exactly is going to win this one-on-one with our copywriter, and I'll put you guys in a group chat right after this. So he's going to message me the number. So again, if you're watching the slide, get the number between 1 to 100. One shot. Do not miss a chance to blow this opportunity. Only comes once in a lifetime. Interesting number, Robert. I would have never guessed this is your kind of number.
It's my favorite number, man.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yep. Well, I respect that. I respect that. So let's see some of these numbers drop. I want to hook you guys up with our copywriter. We can go over your ads, your funnels, your your front end, what your front end sales look like. This guy's been with us for about a year. He's super knowledgeable. So definitely gonna drop some sauce. I see numbers being dropped. Cool. So as these numbers are dropping, Robert, my last question is, you guys are starting to get to the 8-figure mark over the next year or so, which is amazing. What are your biggest challenges right now? Is it like finding the right people, putting the right systems in place, different partnerships? Because when you're dealing with people that are paying you 30, 40, 50K, their expectations are through the roof, right? Their expectations are like, man, these guys are like the real deal. So like, what's right now, would you say a biggest challenge, bottleneck, or some of the things that you guys are working on?
Well, right now, what we're working on is actually building out systems and process for each of our departments. And so we're finding the right people, putting them in the right places, and then building off of that. So, there does come a time where like you're growing so fast and you kind of hire everyone or a lot of people that you think might fit. But once you really get clear on like the vision of where you're trying to grow and the alignment of the personality types and their financial goals and the personal goals, then you're able to see, okay, who's really going to be here for the long term, and how can we cut that out now and then build the right process with the right people in the right departments. And so we have an ad buying department for Facebook. We have an ad buying department for Google. We have a content department that we're working on. We have an email and SMS department. We have all these solutions, and now we're adding other departments and people as well. And so when you have those departments working, you have to think about process and have all of it's going to work together to fulfill and have everyone on the same page with what strategies are to service the annual contracts that we're getting, the contracts that were on, $5,000, $7,500, $10,000, $15,000 a month, just on management as a management fee, because those deliverables need to be on point and everyone needs to be in sync. So right people, process, and training. That's what we're working on right now.
And it's funny because that's the foundation. You're like almost injecting that Arnold Schwarzenegger sauce into your foundation and making it better and better and better, because, man, if you took away what you just said, you're not gonna have a business in the next year. So you're focusing on building the foundation, the systems, the people, trainings, all that good stuff. So that way, when you do hit that 8-figure mark, which is next year, it's game over. Like you gotta make sure everything is ready to rock and roll, and you guys are scaling fast, because they always say making your first million is the hardest, then making your 10 million, then making your 100 million. But once you hit that, it's game over. So, that's super awesome. I'm gonna give one more minute for anyone else to drop a number from 1 to 100. Right now we have a person that is closest. I'm only seeing them on the chat. So if you wanted to get a one-on-one with our copywriter, with the reason that we've been able to onboard 200 clients in the last over the last year, go ahead and drop a number between 1 to 100, and I'm gonna give you guys the person. I see Magikai here, I see Rona, I see Wanvio, I see Jordan, I see Richard, I see Deepu. Anyone else that is interested, I'm gonna give it 10 seconds and then we'll let it run out. Again, Robert, I really do appreciate that. I know you're a super busy person. Hopefully we get to see each other here in Miami. I can hear the rain, by the way. This rain, Miami rain is different. Right?
Hopefully it's not messing everything up, but yeah, the rain is happening out here.
Cool.
But yeah, even to that point of to go back, like even going into different rooms and investing into rooms, like I was just at an event where they said your first 50 hires are the most important, 50. So that's thinking bigger than just having a couple of VAs and a couple of team members. You got to think like bigger on where you're actually going.
Yeah, 100%, and especially in the virtual world, it's even more critical. So I want to give a huge shout out to Rona. Rona, you got the number closest. Robert's number is 15. 15, so shout out to Tim T, but that was the first thing I thought about when you said 15. So 15 was his number. 23. So Rona, I'm gonna send you a message right after this, and I'm connecting with Damon to go over whatever you need help with. And with that being said, Robert, any closing words for these people? Anyone that's in the scaling, in the starting position, the scaling position, or beyond?
Starting position, get the mindset right. The money's out there. You just got to figure out how to collect it. Next thing, for people that are scaling, don't overlook process. Don't overlook the integration of it. If you come up with a new offer, really think about how that integrates to the entire team and communicate that. Don't just roll out the offer. We're all marketers here. We can come up with great freaking ideas, but how does it actually impact the rest of the team, and how does that align with your vision? And the people that are scaling 7 figures beyond, it's time to level up the game. Where are you going to be in 3 years? Start thinking of the departments that you need to build, what the industry standards are being, and then also update your training, because as we all know, Zuck likes to change everything. Shopify likes to change. And so keep those trainings up to date and really have a great management process in place to be able to enforce what you guys are building.
Boom. Robert could not have said it any better. Really do appreciate your time, my friend. And guys, if you are watching the replay, hashtag replay, let more people see this. Amazing interview. And this is a guy, you're seeing in 7 figures, even from now, you will be able to mark my word. So again, really appreciate your time, my friend. We'll talk very, very soon.